actually my interest in the region isn't just restricted to those interests presented to me by my constituents. I had the honour of travelling through Pakistan and to various areas in Kashmir, most recently a couple of years ago, and being able to see firsthand and to develop an understanding of that region, its great beauty but also the challenges that are there, is something that compels me in my politics, and certainly did while I was a shadow minister in our international development team, and now in my work, particularly around foreign policy and building relationships with other parliamentarians around the world. I think this session today, just building on this really excellent comment, needs to take an honest assessment and look at why coverage of the issue that all of us are deeply concerned about, including the recent upsurge in violence over the past couple of weeks, why that issue is not more front and centre on our television screens or in our newspaper columns. And actually the reason for that is not simply because someone somewhere is choosing to withhold or withdraw or hide the truth about what is going on. But I believe two or three aspects feeding together to create a perfect storm as to why this is in many cases a blind spot on the conscience of the world. The first of those actually is institutional. Now, in our country, we know and we understand from the media what, in the colloquial term, what bleeds leads. There is an informal formula used by many newspapers, spoken about more in sorrow than in anger or joy, that says that something happening immediately here is of greater significance than something happening in continental Europe, and as you start going further and further out, and so the coverage becomes diminished again. And I think that's true of the crisis in Kashmir. I think that it stems from a lack of understanding of the conflict as well. One of the things that many of the other conflicts around the world, and those people that are advocating on behalf of conflict resolution, have been good at doing, is trying to offer an understanding of the complexities of what is going on there. We understand instinctively the problem with exposing policymakers, journalists and otherwise to conflicts in that region. It's a lack of access, it's a lack of understanding of the interests of the governments that are at play there. And I think also, frankly, I hope it's not controversial to say, in a week where we're looking at violence against the Muslim population in Burma, in Myanmar, when we see the ongoing difficulties in another region of the world which I've visited, the struggle for the right to determination of Palestinian people, and so on. I think there is an institutional bias, perhaps an unconscious one, in our country against conflict involving Muslims around the world. And that is something that needs to be tackled, not necessarily by those people that choose to report in those regions, but actually by all of us in the editorial choices that are being made and what to put in front of people. The second issue, I think, is the lens through which this conflict is understood as. For me, the issue of Kashmir is not one of India or Pakistan. It's an issue of Kashmir people. It's an issue of justice. It's an issue about meeting our international commitments as laid out in the UN Security Council and numerous resolutions ever since. It's about making sure the voices of the people of Kashmir are heard and heard. Now, the frustration about some of the coverage and some of the understanding of this conflict is it's often presented as a clash between two major important powers, between India and Pakistan. That is, in a sense, understandable. We understand the next century, the century that we're living through right now, will be one in which there's massive growth and the growth of the rising middle class, the importance of globalization through all of these nations. But my fear is what is lost is a nuanced understanding of the people in Kashmir and what they're seeking to bring about, which is that their voices should be heard and therefore the right of self-determination. And I think we need to work on that. And then thirdly, I can go on a day, but I'll try and restrict my remarks to 3 points so that we have a chance to get the conference back on schedule. It's the issue of UK government leadership. Now, we can only view the international media through the lens of the country that we're in right now, really, honestly. We can seek to try and get understanding, and I appreciate various different studies and academic reports, for example, from Oxford University and so on, have done some really good research on this. But actually, here in this country, one of the reasons why the issue of the conflict here is not higher up the line order is a lack of UK government attention to it. The UK government, successive governments actually, have taken a view that it's not for Britain to intervene in a conflict which is primarily viewed as a struggle between India and Pakistan. Now, I take a different view. It's my belief that where there is an issue of justice, that we should be unapologetic in pushing for measures to try and bring it about, especially when there are UN Security Council resolutions that go back over a long period of time to refer to it. And think about Britain's place in the world. You know, not only uniquely linked to both those nations and the region itself through the changes of the early 1900s and mid-1900s, but also as a Commonwealth nation, as a member of the UN Security Council,